and welcome to our next series with our webinars with FFAW. Today we're talking to Brenda Greenslade. Brenda is the Executive Director of the NL Fish Harvester Safety Association, and she's going to be talking to us about some exciting new initiatives that the Safety Association is doing. So thank you, Brenda, for being here virtually.
Thank you, Elise, for the invite. Greatly appreciate it. It's always good to speak to fish harvesters. So what I wanted to do today was to take a few minutes and talk about two initiatives that the Fish Harvesting Safety Association has been is ongoing with the association, and one of those is talking to fish harvesters. So this began 2 years ago now, because COVID basically impacted the way 2020 evolved. But in 2019, at the Fish Harvesting Safety Association conference in Gander, I had the opportunity to meet with a number of fish harvesters and to hear their stories and to record them. And the whole purpose of doing that was to share them with fish harvesters, because I think it's really important that people learn from each other and learn from their experiences. Fish harvesting is a very high risk occupation, and there are many situations that evolve, some end tragically, but there are a lot of incidents that have good success stories. And I'm interested in learning why that happens. Why is it that fish harvesters can be in a very precarious situation and survive that experience? So one of the people that I happened to meet last year was Andy Brown. And I came across Andy's story in the Union Forum. He did an interview with Sharon Walsh, who was a former executive director of the Fish Harvesting Safety Association. And there was an article in the Union Forum where Andy talked about how he survived being tipped into the cold Atlantic waters down in Eastport. And Andy is a seasoned fish harvester and very good at talking about his experience. So I read his article and spoke to different people about it, and some people had known Andy. I had never met him, but last year I took a trip down to Salvage to meet with Andy, and he very kindly consented to tell his story. And it had a positive outcome. But one of the motivators that kept Andy going through this ordeal was to get back home to his family. And it's quite a miracle, actually, that he was able to do that. And I can't tell Andy's story. He tells it the very best himself. And so here it is. Andy Brown telling his story about being tipped into the North Atlantic a few years ago.
My name is Andy Brown. I fish out of Appy Adventure on Eastport Peninsula. I've been fishing 41 years. Right now I fish mostly cod, crab and lobster. Right? I've never had no close calls in my life fishing, only that incident. A pretty typical day. Left house 5 o'clock in the morning. I was going flat out, of course, and this little boat that I was in, she was only 17 feet, and she had this porpoising motion when she was going flat out with one person aboard. To my right was a shoal, so I was stood up, bent over, with one hand on the trollo, counting out herring, right? Saying to myself, when I get past that shoal now I'll turn and go up the bay and all my lobster spots. And so this is the situation, this is the position I was in, which is fairly important, because if I was probably sat down, this wouldn't have happened. When I turned the boat to the right, I guess this porpoising motion, I must have turned her when she was dipping. So she made an abrupt right, and I forgot to turn. I went on straight out of the boat, slow, right? 6 o'clock in the morning, lack of fog, first part of May. So, the water wasn't very warm, right? So there I was, dressed in suit of rubber clothes, coveralls, wool sweater, green boots on with felts, you know, rubber gloves, full regalia, right? So when I got me above water, there was the boat on a curve away from me, just dodging the line, because I guess the last thing I done when I left the boat, because I had hold to the handle, was turn the engine, I guess, and took the throttle off it, right? I guess, you know, this all happened like that, right? So I was tread water there, and I sized it up, and I said, well, you know, that boat is not going to come to me now. She keeps turning like she is, right? So I said, I better swim along a little bit, right? So I swam so far, but I misjudged her. So when she passed by me, I just touched the side of her with my arm, right? Taps of my fingers, and she went on again, eh? So I had to wait till she come back the second time. So this time I watched, because I could see her first wake, and I knew like she was inside of the first wake. So I said, well, you know, she's not going to be that far away from me this time. So I swam along another little bit, and she came right to me, eh? And I caught hold to the gunnels, and of course she hauled me underwater because she was probably going 3 knots or something. So I got myself straightened out of that, and then I hand over my hand back to the gunnels, to the boat, till I got back where the engine was to. And she had this little red emergency stop, you know, that you're supposed to hook onto yourself. And so I reached my hand in through the counter and just plucked that little thing off, stopped the engine, right? So now I had the boat. So now the task was getting aboard of her, right? So I tried 3 times to put my foot on the engine, and all myself, I figured this was going to be easy now, like, you know, just push up with your foot, all with your arms, and it'll just slide in there, right? But it didn't work. I couldn't get it to work, and I tell you the truth, I just about killed myself at it, because what I was doing when I stopped and figured it out, I was pushing sideways with my leg and trying to haul myself forward with my arms. So I was sort of fighting against myself, right? So then I stopped and I thought and tried to figure out somehow else, and then I told you I wasn't that far from land, so I said, well, perhaps I could swim to land. But then I wasn't wearing a life jacket, so I didn't know for sure if I was going to make it there. And if I did, I had to get on the island. So I knew that hypothermia was setting in because I could feel the strength coming out of my arms and my legs, right? So then I had the plan that perhaps I can swim with the boat. Perhaps I can push the boat, because it was flat white cam but black of fog, eh? Probably I could push the boat towards the island. So I had a wall like that, and I started to get tired, and strength started going out of my legs. So I said, well, that's not going to work. So then I had a strong urge to leave the boat again, because, you know, this land, I could see this land, and you know, well, if you got on land, the only thing was keeping me there was, like I said, that I never had a life jacket on, and I was going to freeze to death when I got ashore, if I got ashore. So then she had a little lobster boom on her up from the gunnels for all lobster traps, you know. So I thought to myself, well, if I had hold to the top of that boom, with the weight of my body now, soaking wet, with all this clothes on, I might be able to pull her down far enough for me to roll myself in. So that's what I done. I got up to where the boom was to, and I sort of backed my hands and I shoved myself right down in the water just so my mouth wasn't underwater. And then I reversed myself, and whatever was in me, I hauled. And when I got up far enough that I know I wouldn't go no farther, I grabbed the top of the boom with one hand, then I grabbed it with the other, and I let myself just fall back, right? Just let gravity do it. And the boat come right gunnels to water because I had leverage on her. So I got me right knee in, cross air. So then I could twist with my arms and twist with my leg, and I rolled myself aboard. And that's how I done it. But that was my last kick at the cat, because I'll tell you, I was losing strength fast down there. So then when I got aboard, I couldn't get the engine to start, because when in the panic, I guess, when I took that little safety machine off, instead of lodging it down the boat, I must have threw it behind me. So now I had to hold up this little button to get back to the wharf, right? So that was a bit of a going on. But, you know, like I told you before, there's only two things that saved me that day, and one was that I didn't panic, and I don't know why, but I didn't, and I knew how to swim. Now, I wasn't a marathon swimmer, but I knew how to keep myself afloat. And the other thing I had going for me was it was flat, white, calm, so I never had to deal with lap flapping in my face or nothing like that, you know. And when you fall overboard, sometimes it's not going to be ideal conditions, right? It's not something nice, you know. It puts a lot of things through your mind, eh? You know, you think about your family, like the kids and your wife, and you know what you got going on in life. You know, that definitely, it don't leave you just like that, you know. So if you got a life jacket on, you're going to stay afloat anyhow, right? Whether you know to swim or not. So you should have your flares aboard your boat. It should be all up to date, and your anchors and your ropes and well, whatever Transport Canada list is, just you should always have all that with you. You know, it could save your life, right? You don't think about it that way a lot of times, but you know, you never know.
Wow, that's a really harrowing story indeed. And Brenda, you had another initiative that you wanted to tell our membership about.
Correct. So in 2019, we started off trying to put together documentation that fish harvesters could utilize in identifying risks and safe work practices. So we put together this small binder. It's called the Newfoundland and Labrador Fish Harvester Safety Logbook. And it has a number of chapters in it, but what it's all about is identifying the risks associated with fish harvesting, and puts together in one small package that can fit you know, in the log, in the wheelhouse of your vessel or in your toolkit, where you carry, you know, waterproof container where you carry supplies in a smaller open boat. But it can carry all of the information about your vessel, about your crew, and about the risks of that you're exposed to, whether you're in a large boat or a smaller boat. And each chapter is contains information that's relevant, and some of it contains checklists and sheets that you can fill out, but it also contains safe work practices that you can use as they are if they fit your fishing enterprise, or you can use them as a template to enhance them and to develop new safe work practices. So it all fits in this booklet. So how do you get it? Well, you can contact the Fish Harvesting Safety Association by calling our telephone line 709-722-8177, or you can send me an email at info@nlfhsa.com. Or you can contact one of the FFAW staff reps, and they have a supply of those that they can give you. And I know that they've been taking them around to the different community meetings that they have. And Transport Canada also has a supply in Lewisport and in Corner Brook. So if you're talking to someone from Transport Canada, they will have a supply as well. And I'm hoping that you find them very helpful. If there's more information that you're looking for that's not contained in this logbook, let me know, and we'll see what we can do in getting it there. So basically, that's just what I wanted to say in a nutshell. I hope you invite me back for another information session in the future, because we have lots of information that we can give to harvesters.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brenda. I think that certainly the work that's been done by the Safety Association is seen in the really low incident rates that we've seen over the past, few years. And that work is only to continue because we know that our membership, the same as the Safety Association, we want to make sure everybody gets home. And that's what we're all here for. So thank you so much, Brenda. And we will definitely bring you back. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.